Shabbat Shalom. My name is Rabbi Adrienne Rubin, and I am from Temple Beth Ahm Yisrael in Springfield, New Jersey. This week's Torah portion is Va'eira. In this week's Torah portion, we have 7 of the plagues on Egypt. Each of these is very painful, and you would think that any one of them would be sufficient. After all, Pharaoh summons Moses and Aaron after each plague to ask God to stop the plague, and each time Pharaoh agrees to let the Israelites go worship God. And yet, each time, Pharaoh's heart is hardened, and he changes his mind, setting in motion the need for yet another plague on Egypt. I am struck every year by the hardening of Pharaoh's heart and God's role in making this happen. After all, God tells Moses that God will harden Pharaoh's heart in order to multiply God's signs and marvels in the land of Egypt. This seems to fly in the face of the concept of free will. Did Pharaoh have any choice in the matter, or was everything predetermined? It's much easier as human beings to pass the buck and to say that we are not responsible for our own decisions. It's easier to blame someone else. It's easier to say we had no choice in something that we did. But the reality is, we do have a choice. Even Pharaoh had a choice. The hardening of Pharaoh's heart took place much earlier, well before the plagues, in his treatment of the Israelites. And even in the first 5 plagues, our Torah says that Pharaoh hardened his heart. His heart stiffened, as God had said it would. Pharaoh dug in his heels and became more and more committed to his path of destruction. And then, beginning with that 6th plague, we read that God is the one who hardens Pharaoh's heart. But perhaps this would not have been possible had Pharaoh not hardened his own heart before. Perhaps when God said that God would harden Pharaoh's heart, God meant that God would further harden Pharaoh's heart. The one constant in all of our relationships with other people and with the world is ourselves. How we behave can have a snowball effect. The more we do something, the more entrenched we become in that behavior, and the harder it is to change. The more we harden our hearts, the harder our hearts become. If we do not care for those around us, if we put them in harm's way, if we treat them poorly, it becomes easier and easier to do so. But if we soften our hearts, if we love our neighbors as ourselves, if we do what we can to care for each other, for animals, for the environment, our planet, God will multiply our efforts. Our good deeds will multiply, and the world will become a better place. May we all find ways to soften our hearts rather than harden them. May we look for how we can make our lives easier and more fulfilling, rather than harder and more difficult. May we look to care for one another and for the world around us, rather than focusing only on ourselves and what we want in a given moment. And may we all work together to make the world a better place as we move into the year 2022. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be so. Shabbat Shalom, and Happy New Year.